Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guys, this is Codes of Sisterhood. My name is Aga Akrout, and I will be leading this conversation today. So, welcome to the Codes of Sisterhood, a sacred space for women to unlock the codes of connection, belonging, and feminine power. Here, we are rewriting the story and remembering what it really means to rise together. We are a collective of women gathering to raise the frequency of the feminine, to code what is possible for those who will come after us. This is legacy work for the women who came before, for the women who are here now, and for the women who are yet to come. Welcome, sister. You found your way home. This is Codes of Sisterhood. So, guys, today we have a smaller circle, but it doesn't mean it's less potent. It's gonna be really epic conversation. We'll be looking at how society, family, the world we are living in now coded in us that our worth as women is so desperately connected to the way we look, to our body size, to our youth, to the way we dress, and the effort we put on as well. And this is something this is a subject that is very close to my heart because for me, this entanglement between my own worth and the way I look, it's been extremely strong. And I've been working on untangling it for years, but it still lingers. It definitely loosen up its grip, but it still lingers and it's still strong. And yes, we're gonna be going deeper into that. And I'm really curious what my sisters have to say about that and about their experiences with worth and look. Who wants to go first?
Well, worth and beauty, right?
Yeah.
So what came up for me immediately is the concept of beauty. Because either we can see beauty. My name is Fraś, and in fact, this concept is so dear to me because what I do is I have sessions of color analysis, which is exactly about the way you look and your the area of colors or the choice of colors that just enhance you in a way that brings out the individuality. So I believe the concept of beauty, because I deal with it like tangibly in sessions with real people, real women. So the concept of beauty is extremely important because either we see it as a competition, as a hierarchy. Someone is more, someone is less, and how to get up and not to fall down. Because of course there are certain factors that make us go down in the hierarchy. Or we might treat ourselves as people, as women who belong to the circle of beautiful women that includes each of us. And that beauty is not something that we need to achieve, something that is above us, like a prize once you do this and that, and another thing as well. But beauty is something that you do have in you, that is also a task, but it's something that you can appreciate, you can recognize, and you can amplify. So either it's something that we have to get, or it's something that we recognize and amplify. And these are like two different things. And what we are taught at the beginning, perhaps, or as young girls, is this kind of attachment to hearing that we are beautiful. And if we can't hear it, if we don't hear it, there is this need, there's this hunger that wakes up.
Definitely. It's definitely something um, that we carry. And as well, from my own perspective and kind of from my own mm, experience is because obviously, like, there's a massive pressure from outside. There are standards of beauty that they're kind of put up, on the pedestal all the time by, by magazines, by social medias. And like I was growing up, I was born in 80s, so I was growing up in 90s when there was this massive, supermodel kind of
Worship.
culture. Worship, exactly. And I remember when I was like, 12, 13. And I wasn't tall and I wasn't slim or skinny. And yeah, and I was all that literally was all I wanted. Like in a school at that time, we used to go to the nurse and we used to be like, she would check us and she would check our weight as well. I still remember how I was dreading that. I wasn't fat at all as a kid, but I wasn't skinny. And I was dreading that so much because all the girls was like, "Oh, how much you weigh? Oh, really? That much? Oh, I weigh much less." And like I still remember that. I was like cringing inside, like before going and doing that, or like when you were going to swimming pool or on the beach, it was always making me literally sick because I was constantly as well comparing myself. Obviously, those standards were like they're really hard to obtain because most of us are not that tall, that skinny, and that's okay. But this is not something we grew up with. Um, to kind of in environments when they say that the diversity is beauty. There is not one mold that fits all, but the whole beauty is in the fact there's so many different expression of it, right?
And I think I, I'm Linda Krauss Barnett, and for me, like worth and beauty have always been like you didn't have one without the other. I've always connected worth to an aspect of beauty. That's just how it's always been. And so aging was a trigger for me because it felt like the older I got, the less beautiful I was, the less I was worth. Which of course isn't true in the truth of it, but sometimes what isn't true can still feel true because we've had a lifetime of beliefs that tell us that that's what it is. And so even though I'm older now and I'm outgrowing the belief that my value is connected to my beauty, I would be lying if I said that it didn't have an impact in how I show up. Like sometimes when I go to show up for my business and I go online or I want to make a post that there's always this hesitation, not because of what I'm going to say, but because of how I look. And I can't get the lighting. And then I notice my skin is uneven and my hair's not right. And then I look for filters. And then I'm like, wait, this is filtered. And it takes me out of the frequency of the magic of being myself into trying to make myself beautiful because I have a connection that if I present to be more beautiful, if I'm more attractive, then people will be more inclined to hear my message, to listen to my message, like it'll have a higher resonance. And so that's where I can see for myself that I do have an entanglement of worth and beauty because it's still that part of me that isn't quite able to show up completely unfiltered, completely like what I'm going to say is magical. So how I look is far less important. I am not there yet. And so that was one of the things I did for the month of October and November was every single post I made because I had this other thing that if I showed my face, I was being vain and people would think that I had an ego and I was too much. And so I kind of tested that for myself. And I made a promise that every single post I made would have my face. Now, I use a black and white filter because I like the aesthetic. Like I like my whole brand to look like that. But I still, no matter what the post was about, I made a post with my face. And it was an intentional, conscious decision I made to kind of practice the act for me of just, this is me every time. These are my words and these are who's saying it. These are my words and this is who's saying it. And it's scary. And sometimes I was like, people must think I just like, and then it was like, I don't know what people think, and I don't care what people think, and it doesn't matter what people think. Like, I'm practicing and I'm noticing as I do that, that this ease, not ease, but maybe just this work is happening within me now where I look at my post and I don't feel so connected. Like it's like, yeah, that's my face and that's my post and it's okay. And nobody like this is you. And so I think that when you have an entanglement of value and worth, there's a practice, not just uh, an internal practice, but an external practice of showing up and testing what you're like. We have to test our beliefs to prove that they're not true.
Absolutely.
That's the part right there.
I'm really got I'm so connecting to what you're saying because I do that too, like especially with the pictures. Like I am so willing to go like live. I record the like video without anything, without any makeup, without any light, and just speak. And I've done it, and it's so freeing and it's amazing because this is who I am and I love myself. So why am I still so entangled with that? But every time when I make a post, I'm going that tangent of finding the picture that I will be happy with. And it's kind of crazy. But like as you said, it's this it's the practice. And like I said, for me, like I was since I remember I had this huge entanglement with it. Like, you know, my dad and my brother would like just for joke in a way, called me fatty, and I hated it, but I really took it in. And the fact is that I was normal child. If I were looking at my pictures, like I was normal, healthy child. But then as well, I had a cousins that were very slim, and my grandma would, who also valued her look like extremely. She would make comments, you know, to us that like, you know, oh, that they're so much slimmer, and to them that like, oh, you are too slim. So she would go both ways, you know, we would get the other end of the story, but we basically would never enough. We would never, okay, that wasn't good, you know. Um, and because like, yeah, I was so obsessed with it. Like when I was like around 14, I start having eating disorders because I was so desperate to get myself um, to fit myself in that beauty standard, and it was drastic. It was really drastic because I went to eating one yogurt and an apple a day. It was that drastic. Plus all the kind of things that would, you know, drinking all the teas that would make you go to the toilet. So it was like kind of anorexic, bulimic kind of mix, until I just stopped because it was exhausting, and I would like exercise 3 hours a day and all this. It was just like such an exhausting thing to try to fit in, and constant fear, but like that never fully went away, for me. And the practice that helped me tremendously, it kind of revealed itself through when I start working on self-love and self-value deeply. I was very radical with my choices, and for 3 years, a whole 3 years, I were no makeup, no matter where I was going. It was this moment when I stand, in the morning in front of the mirror, and literally I heard my own voice saying, it's like, well, you cannot go like that. You cannot show your face this way. Are you serious? And I was like, what the heck? I was like, no, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. And for 3 years, I used nothing, nothing until I start really loving for me how I look and who I am. But even that radical practice still didn't untangle me completely.
Yes, it's so heartbreaking, Aga, when you narrate this story. It's so heartbreaking. And what I feel is that we are stuck in, it's not our fault, but we are stuck in this net of meanings, of those meanings that are pushed onto us. And as you said, us women, elder women, younger women, girls, just manipulating each other into and shaming each other because we don't fit some kind of standard. And then, of course, it turns against everyone who pushes those standards onto others, because of course it's related to how you see yourself. And it's such a web that we weave, and we get stuck in it just like flies, but we are at the same time a spider and a fly. And then to free yourself, as you said, with various practices. It could be makeup or no makeup, or just something that is more authentic. But anyway, what I believe is that we have this power of choice, that we can ask ourselves, what kind of beauty do I want? Do I want this kind of standard? Do I accept it? Do I want? Do I really, really, in the depth of my heart, do I want to be like this kind of doll, right? Of having various parts idealized, and then and then that's me, or do I want something else, some kind of different beauty, right? Because I guess when you went makeup free for 3 years, you didn't just give up the beauty. You just wanted really to choose it, and choose it in you, and not in
Yeah.
those
I just said
those
no to the voice, to that voice telling me that, like, that I'm not good enough to go out and show myself to the world. That was that part that shocked me like so deeply. It was like, are you serious? But like I said, but it's still showing up. It's still stopping us. It's
because because it's a web. It's not just us. It's
hmm
all around us, right? And we grew up in that, and it's still there. And it's like it's sticky,
It is
isn't it?
sticky
And
because
it's
it's so many layers to it. Like you said, it's actually so many layers to
And for me, like, I don't know if are we saying our name each time we speak? For the
no.
people just listening? Okay.
I
Um,
think they will figure it out.
it's for me, it is very connected to attract like male, like there's for me, it was always connected to um like sexual magnet. I think I said this on something else. I don't know if it was our calls or our podcast, but it was always based on this like ability of mine to attract men, and it was a validation, period. That's what it was. It was like, oh, I was beautiful. I could attract that male energy, and that in and of itself kind of isolated me from women. So there was this beauty circle, right? And so now I often think, like, now that I'm more in a women's world and less in a man's, which is very new for me over these past, this decade of my life has been more female grounded and more female energetics and less. And so, because I used to teach with men, I used to work in the movie business with men, and that was like this thing. I love to flirt, I love to attract, and I love to like that sexual energy, and that is all based on beauty. So that was a huge part of my life. And now that I have a business that caters to women, and now that I'm in circles of women and friendships with women, and most of my energy is with women, I asked myself, like, okay, if I were to just unfriend all the men on my social media, would I be able to show up differently? And like the answer is yes, if I'm honest.
Oh, this
My
is
answer, my
amazing
answer
question.
is yes, because I feel like the expectation of how I'm supposed to show up for women, the way that I'm beautiful, like I give myself permission to be more authentic with women. But because I that isn't the case, and because I know that the men who follow me are past men in my life, or men that are still connected to me, or men that once saw me as sexy, I feel like I don't want, like, I worry about the change that in that space. And it's like, but now I'm older. Now I'm more mature. Now I run a business with female clientele. Now I'm in a sisterhood. Now I'm surrounded by women who I've learned to trust and who I've learned to love. And I'm learning to release jealousy. Like all these themes are changing in my life. And with that, this concept of beauty and worth is changing with it. And it's like, who am I when I'm not worried about men? And that tells me a whole story, actually. If there's a difference in my worth and my beauty when I'm only in a woman's world, then I can see where where I've placed this belief on who am I when I'm just me sharing my wisdom, being a mother. Who am I when I'm not looking to attract? Who am I when men don't any longer find me sexy? Like these deep questions that I find myself up against and that make me question, what is my value now in this space, and how do I show up now, and what does that mean for me?
Hmm. That's very interesting because on one hand, definitely we put ourselves against that um, male attraction, but on the other hand as well, since I remember, like we've been put against each other. There's so much comparison. Like I said, even with my, my grandma, right? But it wasn't only my grandma, there was this comparison constantly. Like it was always there, like in your ears, like, oh, oh, such a nice girl. It's a pity she's not prettier. Like, did you hear things like that? Like I heard that all the time. And
I
it
did.
really goes deep in
Yes.
you. And like look how it's everything is marketed outside, like the women are all the time put against women. Who wear that dress better, right? Who, like, is aging better, who, like, it's like just putting women against each other as well. And then we're getting so lost in it, but like it's going so deep. And I can see that this is like it's starting to really untangle and unravel like on a big scale. um and obviously the way we're raising children, it's with maybe much more consciousness around, and maybe will help as well to unravel that a little bit more. But like I was growing up, like my mom's a beautiful woman, but she always was so judgmental towards herself, not towards me, but towards herself. Like, I remember her looking in the mirror and kind of commenting things that was just very unkind towards herself. Um, and that created my own dialogue with myself as well. And I was approaching myself in the same way. I was talking to myself in the same way until I stopped, right? And until I stopped, like, yeah, no, 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 I don't want to do it anymore. I just wanted to see the beauty, but it was a conscious choice to
Yeah.
see that beauty, to cherish and celebrate this beauty the way it is, because we are all beautiful. And it sounds like a like something out of a poster, but I truly see it. I can and start, and because it was so much like this judgment was so deep in me towards myself, but also towards other people. I would also judge people based on looks because of the environment that I kind of grew up. So it was this conscious decision as well of like every time it was like any judgment in my head about someone, I would say, stop. Now find at least three things that are beautiful. And it was very challenging at the beginning, but it all those little kind of practices starting to, you're like, no, oh my God, like she laughs so beautifully. Her laugh is so beautiful. I love her eyes, I love her hands. I love how she moves. I love how she stands. Like, and then out of a sudden you start kind of seeing people for like, yeah, you can not even people, you see how much beauty is in each and every one of us when we just take those boxes and
Yeah.
those standards, not even, I don't even know how to call it, but um, out. It's definitely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for saying that, because what I hear in what you've both said is, first of all, what kind of world do I want to live in? So if I want to live with other women in my world and with men, because of course I want everyone in my world, right? I want a friend who's beautiful, and I want to be with her in a way that doesn't take away my beauty. So how to do that? And then, so Aga, thank you for saying that. Those questions like, do I judge? Do I compare? Or do I see beauty in her and in me? Right? And then, what do I want from men? Do I want the world in which there is one woman and just a circle of men? Or do I want a circle of women surrounded by a circle of men in which every woman is so beautiful and desirable?
Love that.
And every man sees that, and the women see that in each other, and the men see that the women are friends and sisters. And the men see, oh, your friend is so beautiful, and I love you, and I desire you, and I want you. So that's what I want. And when I know what I want, what kind of beauty I want, and what kind of world I want, that's like I can choose it, right? Because what do I really want from men? Do I want every man to, try to be my partner? No, I don't. That's kind of headache, right?
It is.
I just want my man, and I want to have a special relationship. Of course, I want other men to treat me like a woman. I don't want them to forget I'm a woman, but they don't forget it, in fact. So their perception, I guess it's pretty much different, right? And just to have this open world in which, first of all, I recognize myself as part of the circle of beautiful women, and I can be with other beautiful women, and I can still accept myself there. Now,
Yeah.
this is something. This is something in which I would like to live.
But it's like little practices can help so much with it. Like I said, it's like this what I did when I saw the judgment arise. But sometimes it's so hard for us to start seeing beauty in ourselves as well. And but it's literally the same principle that I did with judging adult people. Like find one thing that is beautiful in you, focus on it, right? And now find another and focus on it and celebrate it. Um, and obviously, what we focus on grows, and then we can see more and more and more.
And then we can see it in ourselves.
Exactly.
Like those things are connected, absolutely. And once you can see beauty in the world, you can see beauty in yourself. And if you can't see beauty in yourself, then how
Mm.
can you find beauty somewhere? So these two are connected. And thank you for speaking about that practice. Now, for me, the experience of analyzing people is just so great because I just know. It's like I treat it like this kind of conversation with God, because after all, we've been all created by such forces like Mother Earth, the world, millions of people that have been here before us, right? And then how can't we see that each one of us is a living being, intelligent, with a soul, and with blood circling, and with skin? And when it is so true that what you wear changes so much, the way you look, and the way you look, your own natural coloring changes so much, the thing that you put on yourself. It's just mind-boggling that the same face can kind of disappear, widen, and flatten, or all those optical illusions that appear once you change what you have under your face. It's unbelievable. So it really did change my way of thinking, and the thought that I'm most proud of is that why I caught a glimpse of myself in a wherever. I can't even remember where it was, but it was a kind of mirror. I caught a glimpse of myself and I thought like, oh, here's a woman. What would she look good in? And it was like, I was like, did I think it about myself? And I was so proud of myself because I wanted to give myself the same thing that I want to give to all the women that are my clients and all the women in the world, because I do want the world in which everyone celebrates what they have, what they
Or they
already have.
feel beautiful, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful and loved and desirable, and not needing to prove it, and just relaxed in their own glory.
But you know what? At the end of the day, what we just didn't, I think we kind of circling around is that in all this focus on this outside beauty, and because we entangled that worth so much into it, we completely forgetting the essence of us and the worth. And when we are so entangled to the looks as well, while we aging, we fading for ourselves, like we letting ourselves kind of disappear. I was talking about this concept in my year of cyclicity, and kind of when I was looking at the wise woman and the way that we connect this youth and beauty to the value as well. Um and that's the point, like, because when we go deeply back and see where like the roots of it are coming from, if you think about, like, I don't know, 19th century even, um like women couldn't work, uh like they really couldn't do anything for themselves, right? We couldn't. And we had to marry well, and we were always since. So it's so deeply rooted that your um kind of currency is your look, right? Because you have to catch a husband which will provide you and your future children a safe future. It was like a business transaction, and your currency was a beauty. So you were put against other women constantly. They were all it, and so it contributed to to sisterhood wounds so deeply, but it also contributed so deeply to the way um, we see ourselves and we value ourselves, because those things are literally in ourselves. Like, this is this ancestral I got twisted memory in our cells, that is still living on, and kind of starting to untangling it one by one, and really seeing that my essence never changes. This is just a meat suit, which is great to be in. It's great to experience. It's great to see its beauty, but at the end of the day, we will leave it behind.
You know, here's where, like, I'm gonna, again, it applies to women and men, but the experience I've had so many times is like But I'm going to use a man for this example because it's more, it's going to make the point more. But where I've seen a man's exterior beauty and been like, so beautiful, and then we speak and they share their soul, or they speak and they and I'm like, I literally physically, like, I don't know what happens because they obviously don't change. But in mid conversation, I feel this like shift. And as I'm looking at them, it's like they shape shift and they become
Yes.
less and less and less attractive.
Yes.
And the reverse has happened also, where I've looked at someone who I found like, that's not my style of beauty. That's not my type. I'm not attracted to this person. Like that was my initial thought. And then we speak and we converse and they share. And as I'm talking to them, I'm like, wow, they're so beautiful. Like it shifts them, and there's beauty where I didn't see it, or there's no beauty where I saw it. And it's because that alignment happens between the inner and the outer. And so I think beauty is something, and it helps me to remember too, like whatever people see physically in me will change one way or the other. Either they'll find me less beautiful or more beautiful than their initial um, perspective of me, based on who I am internally, what my internal beauty is, what my soul beauty is. And so as I remember that and deepen in that, it like really reminds me that when I show up in my frequency, when I show up in my truth, when I show up authentically, when I show up like with God on my side, when I show up pure, that I can't really it doesn't much matter what I look like in the initial moment. It matters what the beauty people take away from me, because that is going to determine what I look like to them. And that's so important, because beauty is not one thing. And if it was, it wouldn't change. Beauty is flowing and fluid, and how it changes in it, and it's not a constant beauty. It's the reason why, like, people you are with become less, like, people say, I just fell out of love, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's because what we don't realize is it, Anna, you talked about optical illusions, and I think that's what beauty is. It's an optical illusion, and it's purely based on what we've been taught to find beautiful, and what we deem and value as beauty. And that as that belief and value system changes within us, so do the things we find beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, and I love it because the filters that we have, of course, they are great. But then, Linda, I think what you've spoken about something that is so true, that in fact, beauty is not something that we just own and we can just like plaster onto our faces,
Yeah.
but it's just something that happens, right? Because I do feel that sometimes it's a revelation, like an epiphany of the person, and
Mm.
Totally.
you cannot just say no to that. It's like
Yeah,
so
it is.
appealing.
Yeah.
It's so
Mhm.
appealing. And then
Yeah.
if we think just that it's smooth skin, that it's beauty, come on, no. So when you're 77 and 87 and 97 and whatever, even if you are over 100,
Yeah,
and let's
exactly.
pray to God that we live to that age
Yes.
so that we can experience that there's beauty there, because it can happen. Like for me, it's so sad when I see my mom who just doesn't believe that she's beautiful anymore. And
It
it's
is
so sad
heartbreaking.
because she is. This epiphany of beauty can happen anytime. And it really, as you said, it depends on whatever can show up in this place that our body is. So
Yeah.
appearance is not only, being fit, being skinny, or being plumpish, or sweet, and so on, but it's also about allowing people to see us,
And you see, and I think
allowing
that's why.
ourselves to be. Sorry, go ahead.
But after all you said, because it's so funny, it's like Linda went into that, and I was like, oh my God, this is literally the conversation I had with my husband last night. Because I was thinking about it, and I was thinking like how people are changing based on when we start to get to know them more. But because of that, if you think about that now, that's why when we see those pictures in the magazines or I don't know, on Instagram or whatever, that's why they're so elusive because you've got just a picture. You don't have a soul attached to them at all. So you're just basically judging a flat thing.
Exactly.
How
This is flat.
and obviously you cannot compete with that because that is just a completely detached of the human essence. And like literally, like I was talking to my husband, it's like, it's so irrelevant at the end of the day because like how many times like you met a woman who was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And this moment she opened her mouth, you'll be like, oh, actually, I don't find her attractive anymore. And I remember I was dating this boy. I was in a high school, and he was gorgeous, like gorgeous. And I remember I was sitting like we had a date, and we were sitting there, and he was constantly looking in the mirrors at himself all the time, and he was just like, And the longer I was sitting there, the less attractive he was becoming. Like the more time I spent with him, like literally his face would change for me because it just didn't do it for me, but it could do for someone else. That's the whole point. And that's the whole beauty with it is that without the judgment here about the people, it's like someone will meet me, right? Will talk to me, and then out of sudden my features will change for them because they will connect with something within me. And if they don't connect, my face might also change for them in a different way because don't connect with me. And that happened to me with many people, like with mentors, even. First time I saw them, the way I saw them first time, and then when I listened to them, like they just became the most beautiful person ever. So it is all about the essence. It's all about the essence.
About allowing, right?
Mm.
But then, it's still we can ruin a few things. Like
What do you mean?
what I mean is, like when we adapt to those standards, we can just use those optical illusions against us. Once you adopt the beauty standards that are not your own, in just this kind of physical way.
Mm.
And then believing that you have to look like this flat image and trying to imitate that, not a real human being. All right.
I know, I see what you mean. But that is the thing. It's like it's when we connecting to this flat image, right? We always gonna be chasing something that is unattainable at all
Or
because it's
something that is flat.
because it's flat. But when we start seeing our beauty, when we start attending our own heart, tending to ourselves and caring about ourselves and the other people and seeing beauty in the other people, I think the whole beauty is just starting to evolve.
And then the funny thing is when we keep using this word see beauty in ourselves, but does that mean looking into the mirror? From your story about the boy who kept looking into the mirror, doesn't really work this way. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
so then the practice is probably allowing. So sometimes you give a compliment to someone and they say, no, it's not true. In fact, this and that. Of course, they don't have to use the exact words, but like they they just don't accept it, right? They don't allow your compliment to land. And so allowing our own beauty would be something like, I don't know what I look like. I just allow the other people to experience me. I allow things to happen. I don't know. Beauty is a mystery. I don't have to think about it so much, but I allow. I allow what happens with me is a mystery, and it can be beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So to wrap it up, this conversation, what would you how would you describe your beauty standard now? Or is there any words of wisdom that just coming through you?
Yeah, for me, we're like what's coming through when you say that, it's like, when was the first time I felt beautiful as a little girl? Like when was my first, I was thinking like, what was my first experience with beauty? And what did it mean? And where did it come from? Like, was it my mom saying, "You're so beautiful"? Probably, and what was I taught about finding beauty in myself? Was it something that, because like, did I naturally just, I'm trying to remember, did I ever just think I'm beautiful? Because, little girls, like, what is the definition, the concept of beauty when it's pure? Or is it something we're taught, especially when it comes to ourselves, because most of us have mirrors from a young age. So it's like, this is me. But how I identify with me is what I see through this piece of glass. I've been taught that I look through and I see me. And then when it's a physical reflection, because what you can see in the mirror is just your physicality. So that gives you so many opportunities to insert judgment and flaws and see and like turn this way and turn this way. I never judge my back. You know why? Because I can't see it. I
Love
never
that.
find myself throughout the day saying, I really hate my back. Like, I don't do that because I have so few opportunities to see it, but I don't really have an opinion of it. Maybe if I could see it, like I would say something, but but do I judge my hair and my face all day? Yes, because I can see those so often, so much. Every time you pass a mirror, you're looking at, so you have this like frontal opinion of yourself, this physical frontal opinion. But when I think about my own beauty, it's like I'm intelligent, I I'm unique. I'm like, what defines me as beautiful? And then I think when you contextualize it, you actually are confronted with so many non-physical aspects of yourself, like you said, essence, creation. And I think what true beauty is the totality of who you are, the whole thing. And we're not meant to be beautified in one way. We're meant, it's like you don't look at, if I look at the tree outside my window, I see the whole tree and I think, wow, it's so beautiful. I very rarely think like, well, the tree's ugly, but that one leaf is so pretty. I never do that. You know, I see the tree as beautiful. And I think that's also how we're meant to be in observation of ourselves and of others. It's like, I see all of you and yes, there are parts I like better than others, but to me, it's all beautiful because it's all part of one, you know? But that's a really interesting question. And I don't, I don't know my beauty standard. I think my beauty standard, what I want it to be and what it really is, like, is my beauty standard flawless? Absolutely not. Is my beauty standard like perfectly imperfect? Definitely. Is my beauty standard predictable? No, I don't find the same things beautiful. Like
There
I
you
think
go.
it's unpredictable, just like true beauty. And just like I said earlier, I think it's undefinable because it's always changing.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like about the people in your life, who was or who is the most magnetic and
My mom.
charismatic? And now, if you think
My
about,
mom.
yeah, can you, and are they as well the most, like if you just detach the physical beauty, the most magnetic and charismatic people are actually the most beautiful? Or this is so much more into that, and there might be physically not that attractive person that can be so incredibly magnetic and charismatic.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think it's like I've been in rooms where the most charismatic people are not the most physically attractive to me because the person next to me might have a completely different thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I find myself drawn to them, right? Because I think sometimes we think something is beautiful because we feel it, but we tell ourselves that it's because we see it and it's a trick. It's like that is so beautiful. And we believe that it's like what I can see it. Like I can see it's beautiful, but I think that um the eyes are tricky. And I think that sometimes we don't even realize that it's because you're feeling something and you're really giving the credit to the eyes, but it's really to the heart or to the soul, you know?
I love that. I love that distinction. I love how you've put that in word, because I think we all had the experiences like that you met someone and you're like, okay. And then the more you get to know them, like, oh my God, like he's so mm. And the more it's like, oh my God, and now I can oh, and now I can see his eyes, and now I can see his like shape of the face, like which before because it's kind of it reveals it more itself more,
Yeah,
and
it's
we
a feeling. When I
mm,
met my husband, he walked into the room. Now, he was going through a separation. I had a boyfriend. I did not know this man. He was a stranger. We were going to work on a movie together. I was working in the building where he was going to work, and he walked through the doors. There was zero context, zero history. There was nothing. And I had been in relationships. Obviously, I was 27 when I met him. And he walked through the door, and he was with a group of people. And I walked up, and I'll never forget this because it's like my head went to the side, like, like a puppy. And I looked, and my thought was so loud that day that I remember it because like I could hear it like if it was God, like if God was like standing next to me. It was so loud, but it was silent, but it was so loud. And I remember turning my head like this and hearing, wow, he's the one. And it's so weird because he's not at all my type. Like I remember.
you felt him. You basically felt
I
him.
just right. And it's like, is that beautiful? I mean, was he beautiful to me? Because he wasn't my type. I don't know. What does that mean? I
But he
married
was
him.
beautiful to you. No, but he
Like,
was, right? In a way, that's the whole
it's so
point.
weird when you think that. Like, is my type someone that I would say he's the one? Or but I was saying in the same breath, he's not my type. Like, well, of course he's your type. If you're saying in the same sentence, he's the one. But this is where we play with the concept of beauty.
But look, that's you touch on something that is it's it's like we're supposed to wrap it up, but look at that. I love that when the conversation kind of keep going, but it's amazing. But like, because you touched on something that's like, the love from a first sight. So people was like, oh, you cannot because it's just so superficial. But that's the point. I don't think that's what it is. Because when I saw my husband first time, I literally, and like for me, he was my type, but like I will never forget that because it was so loud. He went into the classroom. He was my teacher, funny enough, but he went into the classroom and I was in a relationship back then, and literally I said to myself, I'm fucked. Oh my God, that's it. That was my thought, like, oh my God. And funny enough, he said that it was the same because there was the first time we saw each other, like complete strangers, and he had a very similar thought. And he was like, "Oh." my God. And it's just I think you feel each other's souls. It goes
That's what I wanted to
beyond
say. Souls.
it goes beyond the look. It goes, yes, there is something, yes, but there are questions like, is that attraction is really the physical attraction? Or we think it's a physical attraction because really it's energetical attraction that is just masked. Like what you said, Linda, before. Like I love that. It's just like we're being tricked with telling ourselves that this is what we see, but it's not that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I think, we have been taught that beauty, this is like right here, this is where beauty is conceptualized, judged, determined. Our eyes are the tools that judge beauty. We have been taught that these are what you use to know if something is beautiful. And I say, maybe not.
Maybe definitely not.
Maybe not at all.
But that's the thing is, I don't think it's enough conversations like that because we're getting so wrapped up and we started with a physical beauty and all this and how it's, how we connected, how we're still connecting it to our worth um, and all the kind of history that is woven through us and through ourselves. But at the end of the day, like when we start to bring in those conversations more to each other, we will really truly understand that the beauty, it's it's so much more. It's so much more. It's not tangible. It's just I'm lost for words. That's what it is.
I think it's tangible and intangible at the same
I
time.
agree. I agree because I can look at Anna and Aga and say, "You're so beautiful." I see with my eyeballs and I see beauty, and that's real. And it is using my eyeballs, and it is what I see, and it is the reaction that I have. And I can also think about God, and I can also think about love, and I can also think about faith, and I can also think about like unicorns and things that I cannot see and go, "Wow, that's so beautiful." And it's like, well, if I can't see them, where does the beauty come from that I'm feeling?
There you go.
So, Linda, I absolutely love the fact that you are in a body and I can see you that just quite physically, and the fact that there's also something much more that is revealed. So, if we talk about standards, what I want from beauty, from my look, and what I want simply from beauty is to be alive. So it's the same kind of thought. I want it to be alive, not flat, not just, shallow, but the fact that it's physical is so good. The fact that those beautiful cheeks are warm, sensuality, and then it's a living being, majestic human. I do have this kind of experience that the eyes just look like the universe. Like, and so when beauty is alive, when it happens, that's the experience. And I think this is the experience of
That is the experience. I agree.
that
Yeah.
is worth
That is the
living simply
experience.
for.
Yep. It's what makes life beautiful. Like,
Life.
Right.
Life. And
literally.
I do believe what adds here is, I'd say, when life just goes towards what's good, yeah, then we have beauty. Because I can see someone who is a beautiful person to me, but when they spiral down, their appearance changes as well, right? But when they kind of embody their soul. So Aga, when you said it, the recognition of the soul, this is the beauty.
But
This is
it's showing physically. That's a funny thing. Like
it does. It shows physically.
if you see a person, like I actually like, I don't know, even like looking at my pictures, um, when you have a moments when you just don't love yourself, when you just miserable, you're not in love with life, you're not in love with yourself, it shows.
The body.
And the more inner work you do, that also starts to show. The face is changing, like it is changing, physically it's changing, and it's this crazy thing. But that's what it is. The soul reveals itself, like it the same as you know Dorian Gray, the portrait of Dorian Gray. I don't know if you ever read
Such a
that
true
book.
story, right?
Yeah, the book of Oscar Wilde, and it's this book is incredible because if you never read it, I highly recommend it. But it's about the fact that the story about the guy who had a portrait made, and this portrait was reflecting all the things that he was doing that weren't just good for his soul. So the picture was the generating basically his look, but he was staying young and beautiful and just kind of timeless. But the whole point is that that will eventually, will catch up, but it's whatever the soul is experiencing, it will show up. Your inner beauty will always show up outside of you. And if we are just present enough, then we are present to that beauty. Because if we are all the time constantly caught up in our heads, that we gonna be able to just see that flat picture that we were saying. And this is what it is. When we stop just being in our heads constantly, then we have this moment of like, shit, there is so much beauty available because I am available and aware and in here and now to actually see it. Okay. So, guys, I wish you all to drop a little bit into your heart from your head and open yourself up to the beauty that is available in you, in others, around you, always. And allow yourself to shine your essence to other people and give this beauty to the world as well. So, guys, I love you so much and thank you for this beautiful, beautiful conversation. And I hope that you will come back for more. Thank you so much for joining us inside the codes of sisterhood. May you carry those codes into your life, seeing, loving, and rising with your sisters. Until next time, remember, we rise by remembering who we are together.